It's your girl Alexa.
And your girl Katresa.
And it's time to get spooked away. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
We're back!
It's been a minute. Like I said in my last video, a lot has gone on in the last few years, but we're here. And we have a very interesting story that we're going to share today.
Let's get into it a little bit. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, how's the last 2 years been for you guys?
There's been a lot that's happened. We just relocated. I know Alexa mentioned a couple things in her reveal that we'd be returning. But yeah, we moved. We're living life. It's spooky season.
It is spooky season. And let me tell you, fall in Tennessee is incredible.
Yeah, like
incredible.
Movie, picture perfect, chef's kiss.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful. It's like Halloween town everywhere.
Really. Everyone decorates. It's absolutely incredible and we're loving it so far. So we're really getting into the spooky season.
We just decorated our backyard yesterday and Alexa made our very own crosses for our graveyard. And it was just like a full day of getting spooked. And it's been fun because we get to watch the cars pass our house and slow down and take it in. And it makes us feel really good and excited.
Yeah, it's been really fun trying to like kind of settle in here and seeing spooky season come along. But speaking of this spook, I want to talk about today and kind of what we're doing, and I'm sure you could already tell by the title, but we are doing the mystery of the Roanoke colony. So I'm going to be, we're doing it a little bit different today. I'm going to be telling the story to Katresa, and she just gets to listen and react and give us her honest opinion about the research that I did. Again, disclosure, we are not professional historians by any means. We just look things up and we give you guys the information that we have found, and we'll just go from there. You know, don't take it as fact, but this is what we found and what we're able to bring to you guys today. So, do you have any questions about Roanoke? Do you have any preconceived ideas that you want to give?
Okay, so I know Roanoke from American Horror Story. That's like literally my favorite of all the seasons. And me and Tristan, Tristan and I watch it like a couple times a year, just that season, because it's our favorite. So what I know about Roanoke is just American Horror Story. I only learned that it was a real place like recently. So that was fun. And then we're in Tennessee, so we're pretty close to the location of Roanoke. And I learned recently that Roanoke is literally right outside of where the Conjuring house is.
Yeah, North Carolina.
No,
it's right. Yeah,
Rhode Island.
Yeah, well, no, Roanoke is on the coast of North Carolina.
Okay, see, I don't know nothing.
No. and it's a little bit different because I heard of Roanoke when I was a kid, and I was completely intrigued by the entire idea of Roanoke. So I've heard about it, and things have come out in the past couple of years that people, you know, we find out more and we learn more about the story. So when I was a kid, there was nothing. No one knew anything about it. They just knew that a colony disappeared.
Is it just... Yeah, so I guess that's my question. So it's still like in discovery? Like, so it's a part of history, but they're still learning about it? So
we'll get into the learning and where we're at now with the whole story. Okay. But let's start off in the beginning and what actually happened. So I know that a lot of these, you know, people that you can listen to the story on YouTube or podcasts or whatever, they kind of start off with 115, 117 people that were lost. But I'm going to go backwards a little bit because the story starts before then. I don't know why people like do that. But yeah, we're going to start off a little before then. So the original colony, there's not a lot of information about them. They traveled, you know, there's no airplanes. They traveled by ship from England to North Carolina to the coast. And they...
Oh, wait, when was this?
This... I don't have an exact year.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they might have it somewhere, but I couldn't find it.
Okay.
So they originally wanted to settle in Pennsylvania, I believe. And one of the people on the ship convinced the captain to go lower to North Carolina area before it was North Carolina. And they settled on this little island, and they named it Roanoke. Or that might have been the current tribe that lived there, was the Roanoke tribe.
Okay.
And kind of what happened, they weren't supposed to settle there. They settled there, and the information again is very vague with what happened in this time frame. But basically, they got into some scuffles with the Native American tribes on that land.
Girl.
After they built a fort, and they basically screwed over the tribes. Like, the tribes were trying to help them. You know, it's the same old story.
About white people.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So, yeah. So, in the heat of all of this activity that was going on, this whole colony of, it was just men. Men were sent there, soldiers, you know, people who could just build things. And they basically jumped ship. They saw a passing ship come by the island, and they all jumped off the island and swam to the ship, leaving 3 men behind.
Oh my god.
Yeah, everyone left. Everyone did. They swam to the ship and were like, we're coming back with you to England. Like, nothing. They left and left 3 men behind, and they just left them in.
That makes me nervous. That makes me so nervous. I'm like tearing up. I could not imagine.
No. And especially, I mean, you're thinking about a time where, you know, it's the early 1500s. We're not talking about 1800s. We're not, like, that's still pretty far back. We're talking about early 1500s.
Okay.
So things were, like, bleak.
Yeah, a lot. Death was just running rampant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these part of this original colony that kind of jumped ship, one of the men there was John White, and he's actually part of the story that comes later with the larger colony that happens. But
he was the one who jumped ship, is that what you said?
He's the one he was on the island when they all left to go to the ship.
Okay.
Like, he was part of the group.
Okay.
But, so he went back to England with that group, leaving the 3 men there by themselves. So kind of what happened a few years later, maybe a few months, again, timelines are sketchy in the 1500s, we don't really know. The ship came by and they're like, oh, there's supposed to be a fort there, there's supposed to be a settlement there. And they stop by, and they do know that there are at least supposed to be 3 men in this area. They didn't find anybody. They found no one. Nothing was taken care of. Things were kind of like going the wayside, like it just kind of was not being taken care of. And they're like, oh great, these 3 men just abandoned this fort and we don't know what happened to them. Well, so there's the first kind of...
But, okay, wait. So there's a number of things that could have happened to them.
Oh yeah, there's
so
plenty.
many.
So it's not that big of a thing. It's 3 men.
Okay, well I get nowhere. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's not that big of a thing, but it's odd when we hear the rest of everything. It gets weirder. So this man with the ship that comes by this fort, he had a lot of men on his ship. He had a ton of men. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna come back to this fort. I'm gonna talk to the Queen of England, make sure she's okay with us coming back here and reinvesting into this space as a settlement for a colony. So I'm gonna leave 15 men here. Okay.
To do work?
Just to watch over the settlement, make sure that it's in good condition, you know, make sure that it doesn't get destroyed or run down, you know, that there was time and labor that was put into an actual fort there, and they don't just want to abandon it and let it go to waste.
So they're just there to, like, mark their territory?
Pretty much.
To, like, hold space?
Yes. So, this captain, you know, promised we'll be back and we'll bring a colony. 2 years later, they were able to return with and I've found it reported differently, between 115 and 117 men, women, and a few children, not very many. Okay. And most of these were men. There were like 20 women out of all these, like, there was a lot of men.
I feel like that was a theme back then, though.
Well, the difference between this colony and the ones before is that the people they were leaving there before were like, they were supposed to be settler soldiers, and the reason why the queen and this captain wanted this specific group of people is that they're families. They have an investment into land. They want it to provide so that they can survive.
And it's personal.
Exactly. So, like I said, the original man with the original colony, John White, was the one to bring them back there. John White...
He's a bad guy.
No, he's not a bad guy. He's just... They got there a little late.
What do you mean late? They left them there for 2 years.
No, I'm not talking about those guys. I mean, they got there late, as in they got there in July. Okay. With not enough provisions. And they couldn't plant crops.
Oh.
Yeah.
That kind of late.
Yeah. And just to double check here, they got there around 1587 is when this happened. They got to Roanoke, so there's like in 1587.
Date
yes.
for that. Okay.
But they got there in July. And so when they arrived, they were like, okay, these 15 men, they probably have something going on, right?
I have a question. Wait, can I interrupt you?
Sure.
Was there any, like, documentation or, like, theory on how long it would take them to travel 2?
Yes. So it would be a couple months at least.
At least. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just like thinking about.
But it's not years.
Okay, so I was just trying to think about like the timeline in which they could plan to get there.
Yeah, I think it would.
Maybe they just hit rough waters.
Like 3 or 4 months, maybe. Okay. I don't know. Like nothing too much.
It wasn't like a year.
No, okay. but they did have to get permission from the Queen to go back there,
right?
Even with the 15 men there.
Right.
So that's why it took 2 years. So they got there, and guess what? The 15 men were gone.
Again, I say to you,
so many things could have happened.
There's so many things that could have happened.
Okay, but think about this. In the 1500s, 2 years is like nothing. It takes like a few months to travel.
Different. Like for us, we don't even have the patience to go 30 minutes.
Exactly. So back then, 2 years really isn't that long of a time to be someplace, especially when you're settling and you're watching over a place. It's really not that. I mean, it's
a blip in time.
Yeah, it's long in comparison to the lifespan of people back then.
Right.
But in reality, like the time it took to travel and get things, they knew they'd be there for a while.
Yeah.
So
I wonder, like, okay, so I know Roanoke is a unique story, but I wonder if there's, I guess maybe there hasn't been, if there's been documentation of this happening in other locations or before. Not even before, but just in other locations, because there were so many occasions where people would settle in small numbers, and then they would like expand, and then they would travel.
Well, we'll get into a couple of the theories too of what could have happened, because a lot of theories come up with the 115, 117 people that is the Lost Colony of Roanoke. They are the staple. So they get to this land and they find the 15 men are gone. There are some reports that say there was evidence of a massacre of sorts.
Excuse me?
Yeah. And they didn't have any evidence of it being from Native American tribes. There were no weapons or tools or arrows or anything of that could point to that direction.
What kind of evidence?
They didn't say. They just said that they found an evidence. This is 1500.
I know, but this is feeling fishy to me.
It's getting weird.
Okay. All right. You're right. I just gotta be patient.
Yes.
Because I'm like, be
patient. We'll get there. We will get there. So, like I said, they got there in July. Okay. They were quickly able to establish an actual great relationship with the local tribes there, the Native Americans. They established like a good working relationship because guess what? They needed their help.
Okay, so they were kissing ass.
Yes, they needed help, and from all accounts, and we know how these accounts can be portrayed over time, you know, we don't know if this is actually the thing, but one of the things that happened prior to the settlement here is that one of the natives from one of the tribes was taken back to England to meet the Queen. Oh. And he was on this trip back to Roanoke with these 117 colonists. Okay. So he was with them. He was able to establish relationships with tribes.
Okay.
So,
was he kidnapped, or did he go?
No, there were two. Okay. There were two men from two different tribes.
Okay.
Yeah, they went to try to get good establishments with the Queen.
Okay.
So he came back, and by all accounts, he wanted to help. He wanted there to be peace. Okay. He didn't want things to be troublesome. He wanted there to be peace between everyone. So he was able to do a little bit of help a little bit here and there to make sure things went smoothly. Okay. We all know.
I know. I'm like I'm imagining this in my head is all. I'm like,
yeah. Just take it.
Yeah. History is just it's
written by the people who survived. Let's just put it that way. But let's get past that. So you know, they were able to create this relationship where the local tribes could help them out, but it wasn't enough to survive the upcoming winter. They got there in July. They didn't have the provisions they needed. They couldn't plant crops. So you know what? Everyone got together and they said, you know what, John White, the captain who brought us here, why don't you go back to England and get us some stuff? Tools, weapons, provisions, food, seeds.
Are these people just not very resourceful?
You know, I just think they were desperate. Like, they didn't have a lot of farming tools. There's a big amount of people, and they're just like, we need more to help us survive. Just go back and get some stuff.
So a little trip to Walmart.
A little trip to Walmart, you could say that. But I also want to note that one of the biggest things with John White is that his daughter was actually left with the colonists at Roanoke, and she actually had the first child born in Roanoke.
Wow.
Yeah. So she was there, and so they were
He
like...
must have been trusting of the place then.
Well, yeah, and he was like, you know, I'm gonna come back. My daughter's here. My grandchild is here.
Mm-hmm.
We need to... And it was a baby girl. Unfortunately, I don't remember her name. Sorry. But they were both there. He had reason to come back quickly.
Okay.
So he goes back to England. And England was having a little scuffle. I think with Spain.
Oh.
You know, just in the surrounding waters all around England. So he got there, and there was a very fiery, high political climate when he got there. And the Queen said, John, you're just gonna have to wait.
John.
Yep. John could not get back right away with the provisions. He was stuck there for a little while.
How long is a little while?
2-3 years. So that leaves the colonists with...
So they needed...
farm equipment, tools.
just to survive.
Just to survive, yeah. And it should have only taken him, you know, less than a year. Less than a year. He should have been back.
Oh my gosh. They're stressed out.
Yeah. And, you know, there's no way to get word to them that he's stuck. There's nothing that they can do. There's nothing he can do.
It's a waiting game.
Yes.
Oh.
So he finally does. He gets commissioned to this businessman who runs ships.
Okay.
He gets him to take him back to Roanoke.
Okay.
Now, this is where the mystery comes in. He gets back to the colony, to the fort where it's established, and he can't find anybody. No one's there. No one. Okay? The odd thing to me about this is that it wasn't just like, there was no evidence that there was an attack, a battle. There were still tools left in the field from people trying to plant. And it wasn't old stuff. It wasn't like this had been months and months and months ago. But, like, dishes were left out on, you know, it was just left, like, everybody like left abandoned at that moment. Yeah.
Just like, ah.
However, this is where we hear about Croatoan.
Oh, that gave me goosebumps.
So, he established with the colonists that if there was an event that they had to leave, they needed to write on a tree the destination of where they were going.
Okay.
So he found the word crow written in one, C-R-O, written in one tree.
Okay.
And then in another tree, he found Croatoan, the whole word.
Oh.
And he had established with the colonists that if they were in trouble, if they had to leave by emergency, they were to put an X in the tree.
Okay.
There was no X.
Okay.
But how would they have time to carve crow into one tree and Croatoan into another tree and then abandon everything? Little odd. But you remember the man I talked about before, the Native American man they had with the colony? He actually belonged to the tribe of Croatoan.
Oh.
Now, Croatoan is another island that's just a little bit south, about 50 miles south, I believe, of Roanoke. It goes by a different name now, but his tribe was there. That's where he originally came from.
Okay.
So John thought, they went there. Let's go check it out. And the captain of the ship that he was on agreed to take him down there. They went a little ways down, got caught in a storm, and had to go back.
Oh no.
So they tried again. They got caught in another storm and had to go back.
What?
Yeah. So the second time, the captain of the ship said, I can't
keep doing this?
I don't have the provisions. I don't have the men. I can't keep going trying to do this. So, and John's health was getting bad at this point. So they went back to England.
Oh my God.
And a few years later, John died. Never seeing his daughter or granddaughter or anyone from the colonists ever again. Okay. So there's a few theories as to what happened here. Now, John White, I don't know what the right word is for this. He did topography. So he was able to draw maps.
Okay.
Okay. So he mapped out this entire area of Roanoke, like the inlands a bit, a little bit lower towards Croatoan. So he had this map. And he was really good. He was one of the best that they had ever seen around that time. Like, everything was accurate on that map.
Okay.
It was incredible. There was just one kind of weird detail on this map.
What?
About 50 miles inland, there was kind of a patch on this map. And back then, when they made maps, they couldn't just erase. You know, they're not going to trash that whole map. And like,
right.
You know, it was a difficult thing. So what they would do is if they made a mistake over an area, they would put a patch over it.
Okay.
Okay. And there was a group of people that wanted to see. They're like, "Hey, what's this patch about? Can we look what's under the patch? Can we see what's going on?"
Yeah.
And they found like a star shape under this patch, like a 4-pointed star shape. And sometimes in maps, that indicated a fort.
Oh. Hello?
There was no fort ever found there.
Hello, police?
At least today, like in this day and age, they were not able to find the fort. And this map was not investigated until a couple years ago. I believe it was around 2017. So they found this, and they were kind of wondering, why would John patch this up so it didn't look like there was a fort here? And he had mentioned that if they needed to leave Roanoke, they might go inland.
Okay.
But the path to go inland, it just didn't, none of it kind of makes sense. They didn't find, mind you, these 115 to 117 people.
Yeah.
They were never found. No bodies have ever been found from all these colonists.
What about any of the tribes surrounding the area?
So that's another thing, is that everybody says it's very likely that they could have assimilated with the tribes.
Okay, so that's what, like, my first thought was, okay, so they disappeared. But what if it was like slowly over time, everybody was like, I'm gonna go to college. You know what I mean? Not like that. But you know what I mean? Like, everybody's branching out and they're doing their own thing.
They don't have a lot of resources.
They're like, okay, well, let's figure out a way that we can make this work for ourselves. Sure. And then because they needed to survive, there was no trace left of them because they were like, well, I'm getting out of here. This isn't working for me. Yeah. And then they just blended in with whatever parts of history that they that developed.
Well, there are a few tribes in the area that reported having older colonists in with their tribes. They came out with, like, blue eyes later down the line. And they claim to have been a part of a white colony. See, the weird thing about this for me is that they did find artifacts in some of these tribes that claim that, that may have been around, like, from that time, that these people were, like, the pottery that they had and things like that.
Okay.
But the time frame's a little wonky, and when these pottery items were made. They could have bought it later and then just had it. You know what I mean? It was
like, bought it. Traded.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So it's a little odd. And the thing for me is that really the things just left about and then Croatoan written into the tree, but things were just, it just strikes a weird chord with me, like I think it does everybody. It is still just a mystery. They have excavated certain sites everywhere to look for these colonists. Nothing.
That's so weird.
Now, another thing to mention is that John White's daughter, she is said to have, they found an artifact, I believe in the 90s, and it was supposed to be, they had these, like, rock slates that they would write on because, you know, they didn't have paper, they had no provisions. So it said that she wrote on this rock slate to John. It didn't have anything important on it. It was just
to her dad.
Yeah,
that is the importance of it, right?
But it didn't say where they were going.
It didn't
or
apply
what they
to
were
anything.
doing. Exactly.
Okay.
So, however, there were a few other artifacts from her that were found to be fake.
Oh, boring.
So we don't know if this is, I mean, legitimate. Some people say it is real. You know, some people who have studied it say it's real, but I just don't know about that. I don't know what I believe in that term. And I actually think it did say that they did go inland to a fort. They went about 50 miles inland to a fort on the slate.
Sorry, Finn, our dog, is growling. She
incessantly.
I think she hears a dog or a car. She's upset.
And she has a cone on, so she's even more upset.
Yeah.
The poor baby. Alright, so let's talk about the slate.
Okay.
I may have misspoke earlier. The slate was not found in a location that would have indicated she was in the correct place at when she would have written it. Because it indicated when she wrote it. When she documented it.
Okay.
She would no longer be in Roanoke. But
she would have been.
She would have been somewhere else.
Okay.
But it was found, I believe, in the area of Roanoke.
Oh.
So it doesn't.
So she had already left Roanoke, and then they're like investigating Roanoke, and they're like, hey, what's her face left this note for her dad, but she was gone by this point.
Mm-hmm.
That does sound falsified.
Yeah. Sounds a little fishy to me.
But also, that's like the lure of Roanoke.
Mm-hmm.
Is the fact that no one knows anything for real.
No.
All we know is that a colony of people disappeared.
Well, and another theory is that people say that the map, the fort shape that John White had put on there, they say it's a landing site for a spaceship.
Okay, I've heard that too. I've heard about like UFO stuff.
Yeah, they were all abducted. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm more of the like superstitious, like my belief is that we will never know what happened to them, and that they totally could have been assimilated into Native American tribes, but I still believe that the conditions in which the fort was left leaves some mystery to this.
Well,
I think something happened to them. Something happened that wasn't what was supposed to happen. Like, I don't think people just willingly left.
I feel like they did. Like, to me, the fact that it said Crow in one tree and then Croatoan in another says to me that, like, people were leaving, like, bit by bit. That doesn't tell me, like, it doesn't seem
make
like...
sense. That if, like, some people may have left to Croatoan, but maybe some people didn't. Like, it just doesn't make sense that those tools were left. Things were just left.
Yeah.
They would have needed to take those. Those aren't, like...
All I can think of, too, is, like, when people... So, the idea of them leaving everything behind, what comes to mind to me is, like, in times of urgency...
Finn is having a hard time with us recording, apparently.
Okay, so, sorry, what that tells me is, like, the sense of urgency in which it sounds like they left is just reminiscent to like any situation in our day and age when people literally have to flee.
Yeah, but like, but trying to put your brain back in the place of 1587 to 1589.
And they were on an island, you tell me?
Yes, it was kind of like it was on the coast. It was a little strip of land. I'll put a picture up for our viewers here, but it doesn't. To me, like, where would they go? They were just on this little tiny strip.
That is confusing.
There have been issues with, and it's not like they had a big ship.
Right.
They didn't have, like,
they didn't have means for travel.
No. And the local tribes did have issues with the colonists before, but now, right, because of original people that went there, that's why they left the island. They literally jumped off the island. But now there weren't those issues. And there was no like trace through ancestry or anything like that with those local tribes that they could have been assimilated with them.
That's so weird. I have so many questions.
And honestly, like you said before this, we went through this, is that Roanoke for American Horror Story was a very interesting take on it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's a brilliant take on it. Because of the honest lack of information of the mystery of it all. There's so many directions that could have gone in, and the way that they took it was like very gruesome, but also so interesting because it really paints a picture in your head of spiritual activity and haunts in general, or maybe negative energy even. And that's what's like so inviting about it to me, is that like it's scary.
It is scary. I mean, think about it. Like when we recently learned what the dark actually is.
Oh girl, let me tell you.
The woods of Tennessee, we're not going to give a specific location, but we are near the Great Smoky Mountains. These forests are dark.
Like, the Appalachians are bizarre because like you could be outside in the middle of the day under the beautiful hot sun, and you look to your right and it is completely black and dark in the forest right next to you. Like, pitch black. You cannot see in there whatsoever. Like, the places where it's dense are extremely scary.
So imagine being in a colony where they had no lights whatsoever. All you had was candlelight.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's like not unusual for them. For us, like, it's shocking, the darkness outside, because we're so catered to. But
it's not unusual to them, but it brings this mystery and spook factor to it that's just so intense. It's like, could you imagine being in just a colony of 115 to 117 people, mostly men?
Yeah, that's tricky.
And you're just stuck, and you have no communication with the outside world. Nothing's going on. I mean, I believe there is one theory that witchcraft may have been involved at some point, which
I don't really go for like the whole alien abduction thing.
No.
Like generally, I don't go that way.
Mm-mm.
Just because like.
It's not that we don't believe in aliens.
Right.
It's just...
I totally do. I totally believe in, like, extraterrestrial, or, like, I know for a fact we ain't the only ones here. That cannot be right.
But of all the theories...
To me, that sounds like it's reaching.
Yes.
But, like, something, the most logical sounds like they integrated with other tribes, or a disaster happened. I could imagine, like, a hurricane.
But nothing was damaged.
I know, but, like, what if these people were out having a beach day and shit, and then they got hit by a storm, and all their stuff was just left at home because they didn't expect to die? I don't know.
There was no bodies, though.
I know, that's weird.
There was no bodies.
The ocean has lots of bodies.
There are some theories that people just walked out into the ocean. The whole colony just walked into the ocean. Okay. I don't think that...
Yeah, that sounds strange.
Yeah.
That also sounds a bit like a reach.
Unless the witch told them all to do it.
Unless they were possessed.
There we go.
I want to know these people.
I know.
What happened?
Are you good? Mystery. It's such a mystery. I mean, there are reasonable explanations, but it just not all the puzzle pieces fit.
Yeah, that's wild to me that nothing fits together. There's too many variables where it could have gone so many different directions that there is no way to explain this.
Yeah.
At all. So next question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it haunted?
The island currently?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find anything that said
that there's like
an
activity.
That there's an active haunt of like the Roanoke haunting. There's nothing that like there might be a few houses here and there that might be a little haunted, but there was no overall reaching like story about the place being haunted.
Yeah. Should we go?
We're close-ish.
Should we go?
I don't know, but Trace and I have been talking about the possibility of the future of our channel.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things is that if we can get a certain amount of subscribers or views or likes or whatever it may be, we will travel to some of these places that are close by.
Yeah.
And by close by, I mean like within a day or two drive.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're so much closer to all of these spooky destinations that we've always wanted to go to, which is so cool. Mm-hmm. But it would be really fun if you guys could do these things with us.
It'd be so much fun.
Yeah. We're still trying to figure out the details, but we're thinking about, future adventures for you.
Because we want to go.
But do you want to go with us?
Yeah.
Do you want to go on a little adventure? Should we go find out if Roanoke is haunted or not?
That would be quite...
That would be fun.
The experience.
But also... So you said you didn't find anything on it being haunted?
I didn't find anything, but I didn't really look heavily into it.
Okay, maybe that's what we need to do. We need to dig a little more into the current state of Roanoke.
And it's not... I don't believe it's called Roanoke anymore.
Okay, but whatever they call it now.
If you know,
let us know.
Yeah.
But it's also so funny talking about Roanoke, because I literally am just seeing the entire season of American Horror Story playing in my head. Where, like, what's his name? Cricket comes in. Isn't that his name?
I don't know.
The clairvoyant.
Oh.
Yeah? Wasn't his name Cricket? I don't know. I think it was. But at the very end, when they're doing, like, the ghost investigations of the house, and he comes with them, and he's like, it's so cool to be investigating with you guys, blah, 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 blah. And then one of the real, like, ghost figures comes at them and is, like, trying to murder them, and he stands in front of it, and he's like, Croatoan! And he just dies.
Okay, I forgot about this.
Uh-oh.
Well, let me grab my handy-dandy book, because this was a lot of information that I could not drain into my noggin.
Okay.
So... The word Croatoan.
Yes, please.
All right.
You tell.
The word Croatoan, sorry.
It's okay.
Holds some odd mystery in and of itself.
Ooh.
Are you ready for this?
No.
Well, we're getting into it. So the word Croatoan was involved in 1888 when a man disappeared. He wrote it into an area...
1888?
1888. He wrote this word down, Croatoan, and he just disappeared. Never to be seen again. His last known destination, he had written this down. Okay? Ambrose Pierce wrote into a bedpost before vanishing in 1913 Croatoan.
What?
And he disappeared. Okay? And it was the last word written in a ghost ship in 1921 in the captain's log. The last word.
What?
We also have Amelia Earhart.
No.
Yes.
Girl, no.
She wrote it in her journal in 1937 before her disappearance.
Oh my gosh.
And the last record.
Don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me. I'm so...
Edgar Allan Poe said this word on his deathbed. Croatoan.
What? Do we not know?
Maybe we're cursed now because we've said it so much.
Stop saying it.
Sorry. But
don't write it down. Oh, you wrote it down.
I wrote it down. I know. I was thinking that when I did this. I'm like, I better not disappear, girl.
Oh my god. Guys, I'll keep a really close eye on her.
Yeah, it's... That's also...
Why did you write it down? You should have used
I didn't know. I was writing down this whole story in my notes, and I was just like, oh, and it popped up like, oh, by the way, Croatoan has...
Oh my...
Yeah,
I've never written this word down, so I am so safe right now. Is it like saying Beetlejuice 3 times?
Or Bloody Mary.
Oh, maybe if you... It's if you only write Croatoan once. But you wrote it so many times, you're safe.
You know... Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of, like, you know, there's the Ghost Ship journal, and then there's Amelia Earhart's journal. Edgar Allan Poe said it, but there's a lot of people that, like, wrote it into wood. Maybe you have to carve it at some point. I don't know. I just know that there's been a lot of disappearances around this word as well.
Okay, so it's a vortex or a portal that we don't know about.
Quite possibly. I don't know.
That's it.
It's weird.
That's it. That's what it is.
It's so weird.
What?
And it's not like this whole story was a huge thing back in 1888 in the 1920s. This wasn't like a well-known mystery case.
That's so spooky. I need to talk to a real historian.
You saying I'm not a real historian?
Of course you're not.
Or we could just ask the pendulum.
No, I want to talk to a historian.
Sorry.
No, I want to ask questions about this word.
It's
like
I mean, it's a Native American origin.
Right, I get that, but like maybe I need to talk to someone who's clairvoyant then.
Maybe. Or a shaman.
Hello? Anybody? What does this word mean? I'm lost and I'm confused, and you took me for a ride, and now I'm kind of shook.
Well, I'm glad that I could do all this research for me to share it with you and everybody else. Let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, what are your theories?
What do you think went on with this whole Lost Colony? Like, it's bizarre. The really, I mean, honestly, the really bizarre thing for me is that no bodies have ever been found to this day. All the sites they were said to have gone to, there has been no bodies ever found whatsoever.
I wonder, that's so weird. I wonder if they would, if they do find anything, how will they be able to even, like, trace it back to them?
So they can they can figure out when these people died, the time frame.
Okay.
And they can also discover the heritage of these people. So most of the burial sites around that time would be mostly Native American. So they would be able to look at the DNA within these people and see if they were either Native American or European, or a mix of both.
Digging up nobody.
No.
That's horrifying.
Yep.
I want to go there.
Okay. We'll figure it out. We'll make a plan for it, maybe.
All right, guys. Well, tell us what you think, because we're lost and confused, but also intrigued.
And it's spooky season, guys.
Yeah, it's spooky season. We, that was the tale of Roanoke.
Yep.
That was the tale of my Roanoke nightmare.
No.
Let us know if you want us to do Return of my Roanoke nightmare. Just kidding. Don't sue me, Ryan Murphy. Yeah, sorry. Anyway.
You better apologize.
I'm so sorry.
That was rude.
A joke.
But we hope that you come back. Our videos are going to be posted. Have we decided Tuesday?
Yeah, I want to say Tuesday. I want to say Tuesday or Wednesday. So this is what's happening. We're trying to film on weekends so that we can film or release our videos during the week. Because filming, I don't know, we're going to figure it out. We have so many things to discuss about.
Don't judge us.
Yeah. There's stuff happening. So we'll figure it out, and then you guys will be here. But you guys can look forward to at least a video once a week.
And let us know if you have a preference on when a video should be released.
Yeah.
Because it helps us.
Yeah.
We want to get to know you guys better, and we want to be able to provide content for you when it feels like it should be there for you.
Yeah. But also, on that note, you guys can still send in your spooky stories if you have any spooky stories. If you have any video suggestions, you can do that. We're going to be talking about like haunts. We're going to be talking about like historical locations that are said to be haunted.
Anything spooky, really.
Yeah, we kind of want to, right now we're trying to, since it's spooky season, we're kind of trying to focus on like legendary spooks. So that's what you can look forward to.
And let us know if you like the switch up instead of both of us telling. Just one of us telling each other.
I like it better.
I do too.
It's so surprising and scary.
So but you can follow us on Facebook at Spooked Away. You can follow us on Instagram at spooked_away. And you can send us an email at spookedaway@gmail.com. And we hope that we see you next week.
Yeah, we sure do. I just want to let you guys know because it's really exciting. I'm wearing my spooky season socks. So I hope you guys are wearing your spooky season socks and smelling spooky candles and drinking spooky drinks and doing spooky things with people that you love.
Enjoy the spooky season as it continues to blossom beautifully.
Blossom?
Die beautifully.
Alright guys, thank you for watching.
And
normalize the spook.
Normalize the spook, guys.
You gotta do it. It's spooky time.
Normalize it.
But it doesn't have to be spooky time for you to normalize the spook, my friends.
We'll see you next week.
Bye. Bye.